Hello,
everyone.
hello. Hi, everyone.
Welcome back to
Wow.
Wednesday night with two ladies.
That's right. It's Wednesday again. And today is the 25th of August, right?
Yeah.
2021. So we have officially been doing this for 2 months now. And this is our fourth
Fourth
show,
show.
right?
Time flies.
So
Time flies.
that's right. That's right. So this is Wednesday night with, two ladies. I'm Pauline Teo, and this is.
Rockin' Rachel.
That's right.
So, welcome everybody. So today we have a very special speaker. Which even I also don't know who the
That's
speaker
true.
is yet. So,
That's true. But before we actually start on that, right, just very quickly, Wednesday night with two ladies, what we're all about, it's we are here to actually support you ladies, beautiful ladies out there, and also gentlemen who are also tuning into our show. Okay. So what we actually do is we will be talking mainly on four areas, four pillars, that we will be having guest speakers or even, doing more sharing on those areas. And predominantly it's on self-love, it's on relationships, it's on the health and parenting. So these will be the four pillars that we have. Okay, so
yeah.
let's see who's in the house. I think we've got some lovely, lovely people. I
Uh,
see we have Dr.
Dr.
Nurul. Oops,
Nurul.
that's
Hi,
me.
Dr. Nurul.
Hi, Dr. Nurul. Okay,
Welcome,
we also
welcome.
have the Satay Man with us.
Oh, hi,
Hi,
Satima.
CA. Wow,
Pitchfork.
is
You
the
are. You must be
who
holding
is
a
the one
pitchfork.
holding the pitchfork? Must be the satay man lah, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So,
for
Colin,
those of you tuning in, yeah,
before we move on, I wanted to actually let the crowd know that for y'all who are tuning in for the first time, we actually do this live show every bi-weekly. So we do it on this YouTube channel, and if you would like to know about the next show coming up, do subscribe to us, and then you will get notified when we're going live next.
yeah, just click on the logo right below where you see the two ladies. So just subscribe. Okay, so and I think the other important thing is whoever that's online now, do say hi so that we know that you are here. Okay. And then what we will do now is you guys must be curious, right? Who the guest speaker is right today, because we do have the two speakers. Ta-chang! Yes, who's the angel and who's the devil? We've
Wow.
got news for you guys. The speakers are basically not coming today, so we are gonna say goodbye right now and cancel the show. No, the speakers are basically us.
Yes,
Okay,
me
so
and
we are your angel and the devil that will be
yeah,
sharing today.
we're not gonna say who is the angel and who's the devil, but here we
Yes,
are.
I think the angels and devils are actually within us, right? So it's
It's oh, what happened to Pauline? All right, so while she comes back, angel and devil. So basically, today's topic is all about impulsive and compulsive shopping.
yeah,
So
that's right.
you have the angel, you have the devil. So sometimes the angel could be impulsive, it could be compulsive. The devil also could
That's
be
right.
these two. So we'll find out soon. Pauline, are you
Yeah,
back?
yeah, I'm back. I'm back. Sorry about that.
Okay, you're lagging. You're lagging quite badly.
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah, much better. I can hear your voice, but you're still frozen. Okay, you're back. All right, Pauline's back.
Yep. Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, so with that said, what do you think is a compulsive or even an impulsive shopper, Rachel?
I think to me lah, impulsive means that you don't really think through it. You just go for the kill, kind of thing. You just do it. But it's good to have that kind of behavior at times for certain things. And compulsive to me is like it's like an addiction. You can't control yourself. Like it's like sort of loss of self control. So you just do it. Like yeah, that's for
Right.
me lah. What about you,
Right.
Pauline?
I think you got that pretty much spot on. When we talk about an impulsive shopper, a shopper basically who is impulsive don't really think. They don't actually plan, the shopping trips itself. Neither do they actually think through, like whether this item that is on sale, for example, is it something which it's something that I need, or is it like just let's go crazy, let's just buy, it's like I struck lottery and I just want to buy stuff. Okay, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think this is the impulsive shopping behaviors. Whereas compulsive, basically, you can't stop yourself from wanting to shop more. Okay, so
yeah.
it's almost like a habitual kind of behavior that you have, that you are just compelled to just buy stuff and you just can't
Mm-hmm.
stop. Okay, so that's the difference when you have a compulsive kind of shopping, which also means that if you are a compulsive shopper, right, it's actually a bit more dangerous in a sense, because um, you basically live to shop
Oh my goodness,
and you can't
that's
stop. It's worse than being a shopaholic. Okay, it's actually worse than being a shopaholic.
wow.
Okay, where else the impulsive shopper, right? I suppose when your wallet runs out of money, right, you will just go, come by lah, and then hopefully it kind of like just stops there. Okay, so I think that's
Yeah.
the main difference, between a compulsive or an impulsive. But I think many of our viewers out there, and also people who commented on our LinkedIn post, right, are correct. Both behaviors are not really positive. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think now, more so, in the current pandemic, where all of us are locked down and at home, right, for most of which we can't physically shop in malls, and it's not actually a place that we want to go that often either, to be
In,
outdoors. But are we not shopping more now because of online shopping? Every day is like Christmas, right, Rachel?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, ooh, can go shopping every
Especially with
day.
like the amount of e-wallets you have today. It's
Yeah,
e-wallets are good lah. I mean, I believe every invention is good, but it's how you use it. So like it
correct.
brings us convenience, but it also can bring us to a lot of despair.
Yeah.
If we don't
I think a
use it.
lot of these tools that we have out there, right, we just need to be very discerning, like what does the tool actually mean, and how is it to our advantage when we're using those tools, whether is it e-wallet or online shopping or physical shopping, spending on whatever that we need on a monthly basis, or even the expenses that we have, paying certain bills. Some of them could
Mm,
be just nice to have, it's not necessarily a must have.
yeah.
So I believe you've got some examples, right, to show them today?
Yeah. But before that, Nurul actually had a good comment to share. She said touch and go e-wallet can put up to 20K now. Yeah, that's true lah. And
That's
what you were
true.
saying something about there's also investment that you can do with touch and go nowadays with CIMB
Yep.
principal, right?
Yep, that's right. So I think what happens is that Touch and Go has actually signed up, work together with Principal, and they actually allow you to put money in there, and it's what we call a money market fund. So
Mm,
by putting in there, your money is actually rolling on a daily basis, whereby Principal is actually giving you interest on a daily basis. Okay,
yeah.
which unlike banks, if you don't actually fulfill the 1 month time frame, you don't actually get your interest.
Yes.
So that's the plus point about this. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a very good question, Nurul.
Thank you, Nurul.
So
So yes.
yeah.
So moving on, today we'll be basing this impulsive and compulsive shopper based on an example. But before I do that, in order to
Hmm?
understand this topic better, I think Pauline, we need to know actually what we do, because I think every
That's true.
episode we introduce other people, but we rarely introduce what we do. So Pauline, what do you do
That's
actually?
true. Very good question. Thank you, Rachel, for asking me. So I'm actually a licensed financial planner in Malaysia, and I'm actually attached with one of the financial advisory firms. And so what I actually help a lot of individuals and also businesses to do, right, is to look into some key financial areas that impacts them. So normally we start off with, the big picture, which is what are some of the goals that you want to achieve in your life, and I help you to make sure that everything has time and place. Even the products and services will actually flow with whatever plans that you have, and it's actually in line to wherever you want to achieve. So
Wow.
that's me. So what about you, Rocking Rachel? What do you do?
Thanks, Pauline. I, on the other hand, am well, I'm a mix of two things lah. One is I'm a insurance advisor full time, so I advise people, I help them with their insurance planning, and yes, I also follow the same concepts. You need to have a goal in order to do insurance planning. If you don't have a goal,
Yeah,
no point taking insurance as well. So I
that's
help
right.
customers, assess their risk, plan for it, and see, how to minimize the risk that you're facing. On the other hand,
Amazing.
thank you. On the other hand, I'm also running a small business for my arts collection. So yeah, it's just a small gig that I'm doing. So that's
Yep.
about me. So that's what
Yep.
makes
I've
me up.
seen really some nice arts that you've actually have as well. So I think that's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So yes, so the example that we'll be using to talk about impulsive compulsive shopper today would be insurance actually, and
Okay.
we'll start off with insurance and we'll see how it goes then. All right.
All
So
righty.
could I have the slides up, please, Pauline?
Here you go.
All right. So when we talk about impulsive and compulsive behavior, right? We understood that what do you call this? Impulsive. It's basically how you feel. You buy it based on how you feel. And I feel like when I meet a lot of people and they tell me why they bought their insurance, it's actually some of them are impulsive, some of them are compulsive. Like some people buy it because of savings. Some people buy it because the uncle, auntie, brother, sister, best friend asked them to buy because they just got into
Right.
business, right?
Yep.
Some people buy it because of protection, and some people actually buy it because of tax relief. Now, tax
Tax
relief,
relief. Hmm.
yeah. So like life insurance, you have an allocation of 3,000 there,
That's right.
and medical insurance, you have another 3,000 there. So
Yep.
I always tell my clients, instead of paying the government, right? Why don't you pay yourself first, lah? Take
Which
advantage
makes
of this
sense.
tax. Take
Yep. Which makes
advantage of this
sense.
tax relief, right? So
Yep.
yeah, so many people have different reasons to buying insurance. What are your reasons for buying your own insurance, right?
That's
But
right.
buying insurance is one thing, lah. But many people they think that the moment they have insurance, it's enough. Like, oh, that's it lah, I'm covered. But it's
Oh
not just
yeah.
about, right, Pauline? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
insurance is
Yeah.
a product. It's a product,
That's right.
right? But more importantly, what does insurance do? It gives you protection. So the main thing you should be looking at is buying the right kind of protection. So
Yeah.
moving on to the next slide, we
Actually, I
have
can't agree more with you on this, Rachel, because you know what? A lot of people who buys insurance, right? They may have one or two policies, and then they think, hey, there's a lot of insurance policies already. And then what they would actually normally do, right, is that any other people that want to talk to them about insurance, right, they're I don't need lah, I already have enough. Have you ever come across those kind of clients?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there are many, and I don't blame them because I don't think they know
Correct.
actually what is it that they're buying. Not many people
Yeah.
understand the concept.
Yeah, and I
So
think it's very important, right, for them to really know what they need in the first place, like what you mentioned earlier on, before they even decide like whether or not the insurance that they have is the right kind of insurance for the right reason, and also whether or not they are adequately covered for in the first place.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that last
Okay.
sentence that adequately covered is what we are going to look
Yeah.
at now.
Yeah.
So here we have three images, right? Now we are very familiar with the image. I think we leave it also. So in less
Yeah.
crowded areas, obviously, you don't actually need to wear too much of protection. Just a mask, one layer of mask would do. This would be
Yeah.
maybe if you're meeting one person,
Hmm.
you just have to have one layer of mask. It should be fine. But when you go to
Right.
like maybe the market, hypermarket, whatever it is, it's a bit more crowded. So you have either double layer of mask and you have a face shield, correct?
Yeah.
And if you're a nurse or a doctor working in the hospital, or even a janitor for all that matter, you would have to wear even more heavier protection, which is the PPE suit. Correct, already? So,
Right. Right.
so with all these protections, right? You see, different scenarios requires different types of protection. But
Yeah.
if we just talk about protection, a mask is also a protection. We don't actually have to go all the way to wearing a PPE suit, right?
That's true. That's
So
true.
right? So it's always important to identify the right type of uh, protection to actually wear. So some people they are working in the hospital in terms of insurance, but I'm using this mask analogy. Some people they actually work in the hospital, but they only wear one layer of mask. Some
Yeah.
people they are meeting one person, but they're having PPE suits on them. So it's
Which
over
doesn't make
protection.
sense, right?
Yeah. So it's like one thing is you're wasting the resources, you're wasting the PPE suit, the gloves, the mask, all that is pollution actually, so your
And also
energy
it's
is waste.
cost, right? Because all these suits that you're actually putting on at every point in time, or even like double masking or even shielding yourself, right? At the wrong point in time, it actually could exhaust you in terms of your financials in this
Yes.
case, right?
Yeah, so I mean, it's always about opportunity cost. At the moment you spend something somewhere, you lose the chance of spending it somewhere else, right?
Totally
So
agree. Yeah.
so when you optimize, when you make your buying of insurance more effective, you can actually, have more money to buy something else or enjoy more things in life, right? So
Yeah.
when you are more aware, you get to make
Yeah.
smarter decisions, lah, basically, right? So
Definitely.
definitely. So the solutions to actually buying the right kind of what do you call this, protection insurance, is
Hmm.
actually the first thing you need to do is actually know your why.
Yeah.
Now, life insurance, right, is the biggest and probably the most common product that all of us know, besides medical card, lah, right?
Yeah.
Now, this particular product is a product. Life insurance is just a product, right? So you have, like, under life insurance, there are many types of product. You have term insurance, which means short-term life insurance, and you have
Hmm.
whole life insurance, which means your whole life lah. You cover insurance. You're insuring yourself, right? So with all these different terminologies and all these kind of things, you can go like kind of crazy, trying to think which is suitable for me,
Yeah.
right? So that's where it comes back again. When you buy insurance, okay, it's not about the product that you're buying. Okay, it's more important as why do you want to buy the insurance? That's more important, right?
Right.
So you need to have more intention, because you see, for
Hmm.
example, like, let's say you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you a medicine, but you don't know why
Yeah.
you're taking the medicine. So Pauline, let me ask you, like, will you continue taking this medicine maybe in a week's time, from today?
No, I don't even think I'll even take it in the first place without even understanding what I'm taking in it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But sometimes doctor, they say something, hey, you better take this one out, no, you're definitely going to have problem later. So you just take, right? Correct? Because the
Yeah.
doctor's words actually can impact us a lot. So we'll just take,
That's true. That's
right? We'll
true.
just take. So, but maybe after a week, Colin, let's just say, like, you took the medicine. But after a month from now, will you still be taking this medication
I hope
diligently?
not. I mean, theoretically speaking, if I'm already well and I don't need the medication, right, then I think I would stop.
You'll stop.
You
Yeah.
know.
But some
Yeah.
medicines, like, for example, like my grandmother, she's on kidney medication. So this is something that's long term basis.
That's true.
So you see,
Even
even for her,
hypertension or even the
hypertension,
diabetic, right? They're actually on lifelong medication. Yeah.
lifelong medication, right? So, like, even for her, so sometimes she forgets to take a medication,
Yeah.
because it's happened, like, it's normal, it happens, right? But
Yeah.
if you really know why you are taking this medication, you know what this medication is helping you with, will you take it more diligently after that?
Definitely, because I know what this medication is helping me. Like for example, maybe I need to control a certain situation, like insulin, for diabetics. Then I would definitely make sure that I would be more conscious about the timing when I take it and how I take it and when I take it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So yeah, so this is the whole game plan. Paying for something
Mm.
that's long term, right, is never easy.
Yeah.
Even even I feel it. When I pay my own insurance, it's not easy on us as insurance advisors to pay it. But what
Yeah.
helps me is actually knowing why I'm doing it, right? So
That's
it's very
right.
important when you talk to your insurance advisor or your financial planner to ask them, actually, why am I buying? Why do I need this?
Yeah.
How the next question you could ask them is, when should I take this product? Because not all products you need to take immediately, right?
Yeah.
Right, Pauline? Like,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
products, like maybe hospitalization card, medical card, and all, yes, it's immediate lah. But
Yeah.
things like life insurance and all, it only becomes needed when you have maybe dependents, you have certain dependents, or you have certain liabilities that you are what was facing. That's when
Yeah.
you really need life insurance,
That's
right? So
true.
different products have their timing,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
All right. So can I have the next slide, Pauline? Right. So
There we
know
go.
your So I did a poll last week asking some of my friends on LinkedIn, why do you buy insurance? Now,
Mm.
majority of them say to protect my family, which I feel is a very meaningful answer. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
say to protect my income, which is very true as well. And actually, only 1% said protect my business. And a lot
Ah,
of people, I mean, 8% of them said others lah, right?
right.
So protecting, wait,
Oops.
it's okay, it's okay. So there are many reasons people buy insurance. You can even buy insurance to protect your business. Since maybe 1% voted, maybe they don't know how, but yes, insurance can help with businesses as well. So, like business owners, sometimes you rely on a certain person very dependent, like maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your secretary, whoever it is, If that person were no longer around, will you face a
Mm,
loss?
definitely.
So these are the kind of questions you want to ask yourself. If I'm going to face a loss if this person is not around, I better protect myself by buying life insurance on this person, right? So
Right.
these are certain things you could, other uses of life insurance as well, lah,
Yeah, I
right?
think this will also be very for business owners. Some of them are not the only sole business owners. They may have partners as well, and I think this is where
Yes.
having a shareholder or even partnership kind of arrangements, right? They really need to protect each other's interests as well. Yeah, so
Hmm.
this is when they also will look into buying insurance as well. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, so insurance has a vast. You can use it in various ways. This is where
that's right.
creativity comes in, lah. Because at the end of the day, insurance is just cash creation. That's
Yep,
all it is, right?
yep,
So it depends on how you want to create cash for yourself in different situations,
yep. Correct.
right? So this is where speaking to an advisor would really like help you and
Yep,
to identify, like, okay, if you want this to happen, this would be the
yep.
right products to have in order
Correct.
to make your goal more effective, right? So yeah,
Yep,
because you can always buy insurance online, but
yep. That's right.
yeah,
But
right.
whether
So
you're
but
buying the right kind of insurance is another question, right?
yeah, because we're all specialized in different things, right? Like, we maybe Pauline, you could be a hair salonist, for example, lah, right? So you are so specialized in hair salonist, and you want to continue what you're doing, right? You have no time to look into, okay, how do I do this? How do I do insurance and all that kind of things? So to
That's
save
right.
your time, to save other people's time, get an advisor. It'll be much faster,
That's true. That's true.
right? So the next step would be, after knowing your why, would be actually identifying your needs. Colin, could I have the
Yep.
next slide, please? Right, so we're going to play a game here. All
Mm.
right, so for the audience, can you tell me what do you see in this picture?
And the answer is not StreamYard.
Yes, the answer is not StreamYard. Let's give them some time.
Yeah.
It's a bit confusing.
Yeah.
Even I didn't get this
But
picture at first.
but while they are actually looking into the answers at this point in time, right? I think what would be really important is the need identification, because I think a lot of us don't actually see what do you call that, the difference in really understanding what we're doing, so I think this is where the impulsiveness of getting something comes, in our lives as well, right?
Yeah.
So we got champion student here lah.
Wow. Is that really
See,
champion?
CA is really lah, champion one. He
Not bad,
sees
really.
everything. Okay, so yes. So what does this mean actually, Rachel, when we have this picture
Image.
here, and then yeah, what
So
what does this
basically,
actually mean?
so what when I saw this picture first, I saw a duck. That's all. I didn't see a rabbit. Okay, so CA is very sharp in his eyes. So you can see duck, you can see rabbit lah. Alright. Luckily you cannot see anything else, okay, because this is the only two things that are in the picture. So so yeah, so some people may see a rabbit, some people may see a duck, or some people may see both like CA lah. So
Yeah.
this picture is to show you that each of us are very different, right?
Mm,
Pauline saw both when she sent me this picture. I saw only a duck. CA saw both. So we're all differently wired. So it's not logical for me to go and ask Pauline, hey Pauline, what insurance did you buy? Ah? I want to buy also. So then I,
yeah.
I see what Pauline has and I go and buy the same thing. It doesn't work that way because Pauline has
Mm,
different needs. Pauline is of a different life stage. Pauline is of a different family custom. All these things does affect what insurance you would need, how much you would need,
yeah. Yeah.
right? So,
That's true.
like for example, I can give you what do you call this? In insurance, there's this rule of thumb, lah, okay, which says life insurance you should get 10 times of your annual income, right? Now, this is just a rule of thumb. Who came up with
Mm,
this rule of thumb? I don't know. It's a generic rule of thumb. Just like they tell you, right, you have to drink 8 glasses of water a day, right? But last week when I attended, when we had the session with Jesse and talking about health, I learned that I needed 4 liters of water a day. That is not 8 glasses. That is more than 8 glasses,
That's
right?
true. That's
So,
true.
so if you know, in even in that very common generic rule of 8 glasses of water, I'm identifying that hey, my body actually needs 4 liters of water,
Yep.
right? So what more your finances? What more your insurance, right? So
Yeah.
the rule of thumb may be 10 years, but depending on your situation, you may need lesser than that. Or if you have really young family, if you're just starting up a family, you may need a bit more than 10 years. So it
That's
really
right.
depends. And it also comes back to your goals. Do you want to,
Yeah.
what kind of life do you want to leave behind in the event you're no longer around? You
Yeah.
know,
I
do you
think
want to,
over here, Rachel, we also need to consider the risk, that the individual or the family is actually facing as well when they're actually looking at or talking about insurance, right? Because, say, for example, a young guy with no commitments, like no loans or even any worries of the world, he only needs to worry about himself, then the way he buys insurance would actually be very different from a family man with a lot of commitments, for example, he's got a house loan, a car, two car loans, that he needs to think about together with young children and maybe a spouse that he also needs to take care of. Then I think the commitments and the needs is totally different from, individual state. So I
yes,
think this is something that many people need to understand that as life changes, like different life stages, or even at different point in time. For example, today, a lot of us are more concerned about whether or not we have the right protection because COVID is, in many ways, the numbers of positive cases is rising, right? So it's actually a lot more people now, a bit more feeling rather insecure, whether or not they have the right kind of protection just in case something happens. Versus,
yeah,
say, for example, 2 years ago when everything was well and fine, you've got the job and really good pay, and company takes care of a lot of things, for the family as well in terms of the needs, then you are less likely to be so nervous, I suppose. Would that be right?
yeah. And I'm not too sure. Like there was one experience I had. Like this was purely like out of anxiety attack. So 2 years ago, 2 years ago, pre-pandemic, I thought I had a heart attack. So I was
You're too
actually
young for this.
yeah, I know nurse said the same thing. So but I was having actually a gastric attack, but it felt like a heart attack because gastric, the
Mm,
gas goes up. So I was opposite Sunway Medical at that time, and I
right.
was like, what, I cannot even eat. I was staring at the food, and I was like, I can't eat. I was staring at my food for 1 hour. I couldn't eat. So I said, okay, wait. And I was alone now with my friend. I just called my parents and told them I'm just gonna walk over to Sunway Medical and just get myself into the ER. So to be
Right.
prepared. So I did that. Like I walked. My friend was there with me, so we walked into the ER. And you know what was running through my mind? Did I buy enough insurance? If this is the last thing, what would happen? And I think
Right.
this is quite a common thing that runs in through people's mind when suddenly they're
I
just
think
flashed with a life and death situation.
even
Like
more so now, right? It's
yeah,
like I've heard of so many people now, going for their vaccination jabs also, right? They're just so afraid, that would this be, something which will kind of open me up to a little bit more risk because I'm exposing myself to so many other people out there,
yeah.
potentially, a carrier of COVID positive, right? So yeah, a lot of people are very nervous now, I think, having so many numbers, lah, climbing every other day that we see, it's just alarming. So this
Mm-mm.
definitely would be, I would say, um, pressing moments that kind of like make you think a little bit more whether or not you've got adequate or the right kind of protection. I don't think so anybody, right, wants to experience it whereby um, you're potentially on your last leg of your journey and then figuring out that you didn't have a proper goodbye or you didn't even leave, a legacy or the right kind of love, for the family members. So I think
Yeah,
this is something very real, okay, very real today. Yeah.
very, very real. Yeah, it's a
Mm,
very big realization to all of us now.
yeah.
You know.
Agree. Agree.
So moving on to the next slide. Now, speaking on that, right? Like many of us sometimes we think that insurance is a one-time buy, then goodbye lah.
Mm.
We done really
Yeah.
insurance, set for life. But it's not like that. Insurance is actually a process of buying. So
Yeah.
you buy a bit. Sometimes it's very hard to buy everything at once because our budget
Mm.
doesn't permit it. So
That's right.
sometimes we buy it in stages, right?
Mm.
So even like I've met people who are today around their 40s, and they said the last they bought insurance was in their 20s, and they never looked
Right.
back since. So I was like, okay, this is not the kind of things you shouldn't look back at.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I agree. I
you
agree.
want to,
Actually, this is like me, when I first got my insurance policies, right? I had three insurance policies then because, I happened to just buy from friends, that support me lah. So, okay, like impulse lah, right? I just buy because they say it's a good product. And then what I realized is that, the policies I always had in my mind, hey, three policies is more than sufficient. It's like almost like 10% of my salary a year goes into insurance. Like, how can I not be protected, right? It wasn't until I came into the industry myself, and then, the first assignment given to me was like what you just put there, insurance review. And I was like, what the heck is this insurance review? My insurance agents or my friends, right, that sold me the policy never reviewed. Okay, they never even tell me anything about this thing called reviews. And to my shock and horror, right, I went home and I told my mom this. Ma, if let's say yesterday I no more already in this world insurance company will only pay you 50,000 ringgit. My mom was like, 50 what? How much is that? He's like, it's like so insufficient, during that time. And that was like
yeah, yeah,
almost 7 years ago, when I did my first review. I was like thinking, I earn more than 50,000 a year, it's like, how can it be that I'm only protected for 50,000? It makes no
yeah,
sense whatsoever. So it dawned upon me that, a review is actually so very important because my mom would have easily, actually spent this money within 2 years, and that's it. And that's the love I'm leaving for her if I had actually passed on yesterday. And that was a really scary thought for me when it happened.
yeah. Thank
So,
thank God you did
yeah.
that review.
Oh,
So
yeah. Myself.
yes, yes, it came in. It
Yeah.
comes one way or another, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Definitely.
speaking of which, so insurance review is very important, but it's
Mm,
not to say that you review it every 10 years. That's not the recommended. Actually, it's just like going for health checkup.
that's right.
Recommended is to go 1 year once, right?
That's
And
right.
what do you call this? Why we recommend you to review your not just insurance but even finances once a year is because a lot can happen. So you could buy
Yes.
a new car, you could buy a new house, you could even receive inheritance from
Yep.
your family members, or you could
Mm,
add another family member into your family. So
yep.
all of this adds on responsibility, or it could even reduce. So let's say if you're having inheritance, maybe it may reduce some of your burdens lah, right?
Yeah.
But if you are buying new car, having another child, all these kind of things would increase your responsibilities.
Yeah.
So when this happens, you want to ensure that this insurance is still working for me. Because the
Yeah.
last thing you'd want, right, is paying like let's say donkey years, like 10, 20 years, and suddenly you need to use the insurance and you find out like, huh, this is all that I did. This is
Correct.
it doesn't even cover this, it doesn't cover that. So it's
Yeah.
a very sad thing to find out. To some I mean, I've heard stories lah of some people who came to the situation, and it's really sad because at that point
Yes.
of time you cannot do anything about it anymore,
That's right. That's right.
right? So
Yeah.
to end off this topic of insurance, I just wanted to put on the next slide, which is to remember this lah, very important, to know the kind of protection that you need, and depending on the situation that you are in.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'll
Yeah.
pass this on to Pauline.
Yep. Okay, so I think with that said, right, the review is definitely very, very important, where, we have been stressing the importance of at least doing a financial checkup, once every year. If not, I think the worst case also will be at least 2 years, you just do one time. At least it gives you
Mm,
some kind of idea. So I think on my end, what I also realize is that many of us, right, would love to save, money during this time, and I ran this poll also on LinkedIn, and I've noticed that more than 97% actually would love to save, 30% or more on a monthly basis. And I
yeah,
think
agree.
about 38%, almost 40%, right, is actually asking, like, hey, how do we do this? If let's say, we we really want to look into such savings today. So now the question I really have for most of us is that because we are working from home, I believe many of us have not traveled very far, with the cars that we have, most of which is actually parking in our garage or,
Yeah.
in our apartments, car park, right? So what happens is we are now actually able to save a lot in terms of petrol, in terms of, doing a lot of this kind of like even your tolls, parking, you actually do save a lot, without having to go anywhere basically. So the question I actually have for a lot of people, and people need to understand one very important thing is your money, right? How you manage it is actually very important, and it's likened to the the flow, of how your blood flows in your body. So I'm using a
You're very
heart,
deep.
yeah, as an example, okay? If you do not have a heart to pump blood to all the vital organs in your body, right? Basically, you would die, correct?
Correct.
Because there is no blood flow to any parts of your organs and your body in order to keep it working. So managing money is exactly the same thing as how your body works as well. So heartbeat of every finances is actually what we really need to talk about, and it's actually what we call as cash flow. Okay, so the question I have for most of you would be, how is your cash flow doing? Because if today you're telling me, right, your cash flow is very tight, you're getting a paycheck to paycheck and you don't have much savings, right? Then you most probably be very scared at this point in time. If, for example, you lose your job, then basically that would be the end of where your money would flow in, isn't it? So if there
Yeah.
is no money coming in, then how is money going to help you sustain? Because you've got bills, loans, and a lot of things that you need to pay on a monthly basis. And without a good cash flow helping you to do that, it's going to be very tough for every one of us.
Yeah.
Okay,
Actually,
so
speaking of that, so Pauline, I
yeah.
realized, like, if you constantly manage your cash flow, you can also reduce the impact if it hits, right?
Mm,
If you lose a job, because like your savings, okay lah, you know how to rely on it. The impact of
yeah.
it compared to you not managing it at all is lesser, right?
That's right. That's right. So I think to that particular question that you have, right, a lot of people also have been asking me, there's this very common term that you most probably be hearing quite a lot these days, which is emergency fund. So
Yeah.
basically, emergency fund acts as that. So if, like what you've actually mentioned just now, right, Rachel, if emergency funding is actually more than sufficient, which is saving that you actually put inside for emergencies, just in case if let's say your boss gives you a surprise, that you will be jobless, you won't feel stressed or feeling depressed and are lost, because you know that you have a certain amount of emergency fund there as a backup. So
Yeah.
just imagine you've got a safety net lah, that takes care of all these unnecessary expenses for at least a few months. Usually a rule of thumb we would say is actually 6 months of emergency funding as a good initial, setup. This will actually help you relieve of any stress, because I think within 6 months period, you should be able to get some kind of employment, right? So
Yes.
with that said, right, you won't actually feel the actual struggle, if let's say you have no income coming in. So this is how important emergency funding is. And so this is also coming back to the situation of knowing your finances, knowing what
Mm-hmm.
exactly where your money is actually flowing into is actually very important. So
Yeah.
one of the things I like to share with you, right, for tonight's tip is some things to look out for in your personal cash flow. Okay, so one of the things you need to know is what are some of the expenses which are fixed. Okay, fixed expenses, for example, right, would be your car loans, you have to pay your housing loan, your electricity bills, your water bills. These are fixed, right? In some ways, whether you like it or not, every month you have to actually pay off all these expenses. Okay, so then we have another type of expenses, which is the moving or variable expenses. Now,
This
moving
is
and
where the
variable
shopping
expenses.
and all.
Yes, this is where the shopping comes in. Like for example, do you want to eat out more, or you cut out on eating out, but you're eating in. in your house more. So you're buying more groceries in that sense. So this is where your expenses are variable. Okay. Or some good examples of variable expenses is that every year you only pay once for your car insurance and renewal of road tax, for example.
Oh,
So this is a variable expenses because your insurance will actually depending on whether you got any accidental cases the previous year where you have NCD, right, in your insurance itself to knock off certain percentage, giving you some kind of discount, okay? Or if it's actually a moving expenses, right, it could vary from, whatever fees that you may have to pay. Maybe certain things which is once off, like paying for your license is actually, a moving or variable expenses that depends on situation. You just need to pay for something. Okay.
yeah.
And the last but not least, right, we've got one of those things that creeps out on us, which is surprise expenses. Okay. What are
Oh,
some of the things which is surprise expenses would be like your car, suddenly your tire gave way. You got to change a new tire, for example. That's surprise expenses that you didn't expect, but it came. Or for example, your neighbor actually really needs your help. So, asking you to help, like loan her like 1,000 ringgit, for example. That's a surprise expense that, may creep up on you. So these would be the three different kind of expenses, right? That you have to be very clear what is a fixed expense, what is a moving or variable expenses, and surprise expenses that creeps up. So I think out of these three examples here, right, what is very, very obvious is that fixed expense is nothing you can actually negotiate on. It's something that you have to pay on a monthly basis. But
yeah.
moving and surprise expenses are things that you can decide whether or not, you can actually budget for it or not. Okay, whether or not you can actually afford to actually loan your neighbor money or even like, to get your car fixed. Okay, so these are things that you definitely have control of. Okay, and so with that said, right, one of the most important things if you need to remember is that cash flow is like water, it needs to flow. Okay, if it's a stale or stagnant water, it's definitely not good. And usually when
Oh,
it's a still or stagnant water, right, is normally when you really need to ask for help. Okay, so this is the area that we just need to be very conscious and very mindful on. Okay, so even with
so
this said, right, when we talk about the different habits that we have in terms of how we behave, we just need to be very conscious of how what kind of levers we can actually pull from time to time in order to decide on when to spend and how to spend on things. So I
I
think
really like
what I yeah,
I really like what you said about the variable and surprise expenses just now.
right.
But in surprise expenses, actually we don't have control over it, right? Because it just surprises us.
Yeah. So that's why the emergency funding also is very important if you think about it. Because
Ah,
it's
so
like a
that's how
spare
you just
tire, right? Yes,
mm-mm-mm.
that's how you actually counter it because you're already prepared for such potential or unforeseen circumstances which you've already budget for in that sense. So you're
I
still in
see.
control of the situation. So you're not left helpless in totality. Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
So I think one of the things I like to address would be today's post, right? I did ask my audience, right, in terms of what questions they would like to have addressed here, and I think some of them couldn't make it for today's session, but it will be good to actually just flesh out those questions so that we can actually help to answer them as well. So
Yes.
we have Marcus Howe. He actually asked a question: if bulk purchases is actually cheaper, should we go for it and make the savings? So I think if what Marcus is trying to say here, if I understand it correctly, would be sometimes when we go shopping, right, and then they would have this massive discounts on certain items, like instead of buy one free one, it could be buy two and then you kind of like get one free or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I've actually seen before, for example, like toilet rolls, instead of buying 10 in one pack, right, they're actually asking you to buy 10. So that means it's actually 100 rolls of
Wow.
toilet rolls, okay, in order to get a special price. So I think this is what we actually see as bulk purchase, right? It's more of a wholesale kind of purchases, whether or not we should go for it, because when you do the calculation, right, it is really cheaper, okay? If you're buying maybe one roll of toilet paper for 1 ringgit, right? Buying in bulk like this could be like maybe like 70 cents. So you save quite a lot when you're talking about that volume, that you're buying. So I think
Mm-hmm.
in terms of this, I would say two things. Number one, is it really practical to buy that many? So I think an example I would use is if it's a shampoo, it's like sometimes they have offers like buy one and then the second one at half the price. I would
Yep.
say I wouldn't mind keeping a spare shampoo because I do wash my hair and I will
Sometimes
need it
occasion.
eventually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for me, it does make sense because my hair is long, right? So, you tend to use more, right? So, in this sense, I wouldn't mind buying, if let's say it's buy one and then you get another one for 50% off. But I wouldn't do something like buy one, like, like a bulk, like 10 shampoos,
Toiletries.
when I know that I wouldn't need that much shampoo. It's not as though I've got 10 hits, like I'm running a salon, for example, right? That I will need that bulk purchase in order to cater for the business that I have. So I wouldn't do it for a reason that if that bulk purchase is going to cost me a lot of money output right now, it also means I've got lesser input, lesser output to actually spend on this month. So it tightens my cash flow. You know what I mean? Because I'm locking it up and paying off right now for something which I may need only for 3 years later, like tissue paper, like I don't know, it could be forever for me to finish.
Yeah, I mean, can you
So
imagine buying 100 rolls? My God, what would you do?
exactly, unless I'm running like maybe a school or even an old folks home, right? That I have a lot of people in and out of this
Yeah,
particular
yeah.
premise, then I would actually do that. Like buy on bulk. But I think it's a case to case basis, lah. Whether or not you would want to do that is another question. Okay, then we also have another question here by Jessie, who is our speaker,
Yeah.
our guest speaker last round, right? So she asked, if we have to, if I have to turn the mall or platform upside down to do a price or product service comparison before I purchase, would you rather save time or save money? Which one is more important? What do you think, Rachel?
Well, honestly, when I go shopping, right, I really don't like to go to many shops to go buy one product. I really don't like it
Right,
because for me, it's like I need to. Okay, if this is the product, it's here. This is the price. It's not too expensive. Okay, buy it. Kind of thing. But I feel that today's world with the online shopping makes my life much easier because I don't have to run around. I can just
that's
run on the
true.
web.
Yeah.
So
But even that, isn't it a lot of time, that you most probably have to open a few websites, do
yeah,
comparison and everything. It's quite manual. It's not as though you've got one site that clicks like, to
yeah,
give
yeah.
you
I
a
think
comparison.
I think it's also like it depends on the product that you're buying. If it's like that those really expensive products, or you may want to look around and see whether what's the best deal in town. But if something
Right.
like maybe very reasonable costing, maybe you would want to just save that time and buy the product when you find it. So
Right,
yeah,
right. Okay.
mm,
I
that's
think
my
for me, for this particular case, Laura, I can share. Like last weekend, I went shopping and the usual hyper that I usually go and grab all my stuff, right? For some reason, it was having a massive queue. It was longer, like 4 times longer than usual, okay, when I went. So both my husband and I decided, hey, we are pressed for time. We're not going to go to this hyper to shop. We went to another hyper, which is a little bit more atas sikit lah, okay, to shop. And because we're pressed for time, so we kind of like save time, but we actually spend a little bit more, in terms of what
mind.
we
Yeah.
shop for. So I think it's a trade-off for me. Sometimes we can't really like um, maximize everything. I mean, if ideally we could save time and save money, whoa, that's the best situation, right? But if not, I think sometimes you just have to figure out which one is more important to you. Like I in the past, when I went shopping, right, and I know that hey, I've actually kind of like spent I mean I've saved a lot of time, like not having to travel, being stuck in traffic and all that in the past, right? So I didn't mind, like taking a little bit more time just to line up in queue sometimes in order to save money. So I think
Mm,
it depends on individuals as well. Like there is no right or wrong, but the right question would be what's more important to you then? Is time more valuable or is saving the money is more valuable? Because sometimes if you ask a reminder, right, at this point in time, time is of essence. Money
Yeah.
is something that he earn immediately right now, like, with the Thanos kind of, he can actually already make his few thousand or few millions back, right? So for him, it's like time is of essence. So he wouldn't save money, but he would save time. You know what I mean? So I think it actually depends on the situation as well. So what's
Yeah.
actually more important to you? You've got to make that call from time to time. I hope that answers Jesse's question.
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay, yeah, and then we have another question by Amanda Leong. She actually asked, shopping and saving, which one is all, which is actually on the opposite end, right? So how do we effectively do both?
This is a
So
very
shopping is on the
question.
spending, is on the spending quadrant, and then saving is on the other end of the quadrant, right? Which is, totally conflicting, right? So how would you actually approach this, Rachel?
This one, okay, this is what I do like in my finances. I always like I like e-wallets, okay, but
Right.
I try to control myself to using only one or two.
Mm-hmm.
So in this day and age, I basically allocate after paying my bills and putting aside things for savings. I do
Right.
allocate a certain amount for me to just shop or splurge, whatever it is. But I rarely go on a shopping spree because
Right.
I don't know. I don't really find that the habit in shopping so much.
Right.
But what I do is I do have that amount lah where if it's like going ordering grab food nowadays you can go makan right, so it's ordering grab food or anything like this.
Yeah.
I will use from this particular account that I've allocated for expenses. So I know that okay, once this account has finished, it finishes lah. But that's because my kind of lifestyle allows me to do that. Some people, they may have a certain budget for food alone, so you
Mm-hmm.
can't just put everything in one. You have to
Yeah.
segregate it lah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So what do you think, Colin?
I think for me, there's a few ways of how we can do it. One of the ways is actually budgeting. So, for example, when you get your take home pay every month, you can actually make a very conscious decision like how much do you want to put to savings. So, usually, and also the rule of thumb, right, by Warren Buffett, one of his best advice would be always save first before you spend. So if you
Yeah.
consciously tell yourself, you want to put aside, say, 10%, or 20% of, whatever you take home, you save that amount first, leaving the rest for you to do other allocations. So normally how I would do it, in terms of budgeting is I will put saving aside first. And then after that, I will look into what are some of the fixed costs, okay, or the fixed expenses that I have that needs to be settled first. That goes in that order. And then I would have, another pocket here, right, which is actually for leisure. So those are the expenses that I spend on myself. It be like going for holidays, going for the spa, or buying myself better things to munch on. As a little treat to myself. So this is normally how I would actually budget for it. So there could also be what I would consciously say that this is how much I would allocate for online shopping or shopping in totality, and you're free to use this money to spend on whatever you want. Okay,
Mm.
so I'll give an example. Like sometime this month, right? I actually wanted to do two things that came out across as a surprise. When I caught up with two friends. Okay, and I realized that hey, one of it, the initiative that I wanted to actually spend on, it's off my budget because it's not something. It's a surprise expense, right? That what came up springing upon me, but I know I want it. So what I did was there's a very conscious decision I made is two things. If I want it this month and I want it now, it means that I have to reprioritize some of the monies that I have in hand, whether or not I can afford to spend on this particular or splurge on this particular area, or I will need to be very disciplined to say, I think I will need to have it done next month because
Mm.
it doesn't seem to work, in terms of the budgeting. So I wouldn't do something like, oh, impulsive. I want this. I got savings, right? Remember, I actually put aside, my saving earlier on. Let's niche from that. No. So you just have to be very, very conscious about why you're saving and what you're allowed to spend. Okay,
Yeah.
because I find that a lot of people out there, they they tend to see the savings and then the finger and hand get itchy, and then you kind of like tend to impulsively, make that decision, and then realizing later, like, sometimes, I don't actually really need it that bad. I thought I needed it that bad then. It sounded like a great deal then. And then, you make such impulsive decisions. So for me, it's usually quite planned. So I actually
Yeah.
tell myself, no, if I need it, I should have the money before I spend. Otherwise, I will need to make a very conscious decision. This is next month's expenditure. Okay, next month I'm
Mm-hmm.
allowed to spend on this because I have the savings which I haven't used it yet, right, for any shopping or things that I wanted to do yet. So I can actually use from that particular fund. So hopefully that actually answers Amanda's question.
Yep, it definitely
Okay.
did.
So very quickly back to what I wanted to share would be, I think it's very clear that in our circle of friends, there's actually very, very different type of money personality out there. So if I can just very quickly in a nutshell, because I'm very conscious of the time right now, we're running soon out of time. So there's actually five different type of money personality if you ask me. So there is people who love to save, who are, some of them are spenders, some of them are what we call as the accumulator, some of them are escaper, and some of them are the angels. Okay, so
Wow.
in order to really know, right, more about this money personality and which one do you actually fall in or more inclined to, I would say, um, you can actually get a really good check on your money personality. Okay, but before that, what I want to share with you is on this one question. Knowledge is power. This is what we always hear, right, from a lot of people out there,
Yeah.
right, Rachel? So do you think this is true? Do you think this statement is true?
I think it was true like 20 years ago, but today's world, no.
Oh, really? What about
Because ever since the internet.
yeah, okay. So what about the viewers that is actually tuning in right now? Do you think that knowledge is power? I'm just curious to find out what you guys think. Okay, we'll just see whether we get any response because I think they need time to type.
Yeah.
Type, 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 so okay, but
I think,
anyway, while we're waiting for them to actually give us this answer, right, whether or not they think it is, I would say applied knowledge is power. Okay, why is that? Because with so much information, right, by asking Google, by books that we read, and so many other information, right, to get the knowledge out there. If you do not apply this knowledge, it remains powerless.
wow,
You know what I
that's
mean?
a
It
very
remains
powerful
powerless.
statement.
Yeah. So when
I
you
see your name
apply the
as
knowledge,
Colin too.
so when you apply the knowledge, right, is when the power you actually start seeing things happening for you. You start seeing things changing. You start seeing things happening because you applied the knowledge. Okay. So for me, applied knowledge is definitely more powerful than just knowing something. Okay. So last but not least, what I would actually say is for you guys out there who really wants to know what's your money personality, maybe what you guys can do is let us know, okay, that you're really interested in this. You can actually contact or connect with both Rachel and myself, and we'll give you a complimentary 30-minute session so that you actually understand, right, which quadrant you actually fall into. Okay, and this will actually help you to understand the financial strength and weaknesses and see what you can do in order to take advantage of them. Okay, because each one of those personality, right, you do have pros and cons as well. So if
Yeah.
you're aware of the cons, you can know how to counter them, and if you know your pros, you can take advantage of it more.
Yeah.
Okay,
Definitely does.
so that is what I would say, and I think very quickly also, if anything, just call us, contact
Yeah.
us.
Just
Okay,
call us.
yeah. Okay, so
Or
this
you
is
can
how you can
even like,
connect with us. Yeah,
yeah, you can even type down below in the chat also if you want us to reach out to you. Maybe you could type the word money, and then we will get in
money.
touch with you. Yeah. We can get in touch with you to arrange for this 30-minute complimentary session lah. All
Perfect.
right.
Sounds
Yes.
great. Sounds great. Okay, and so this is how you can connect with us. Okay, you can follow Rocking Rachel and myself. Okay, this will be the channels that you can tune in and like us, follow us. And I believe that, Rachel, you've got something to add on for Facebook, right?
Yeah, so we also have a private Facebook group. It's called Wednesday Night with Two Ladies. This particular group is basically set up to get more personal with each of you after our live shows. So depending on the topic that week, we would maybe give you a bit more advice, or we could even have a discussion on that group regarding a topic, and you could even
Yep.
meet some of the speakers that have shared on in the group.
Mhm.
So you have more advantage to ask them questions that were not answered in the show, and so on and so forth.
That's right.
Right. So you can find that
That's
link
right.
to it in the description below, right, Pauline?
Yep, that's right. That's where you can find us on Facebook itself. So join the group if you're interested. So we do share a lot of things there, which is not shared here. Okay.
Secret.
So the next speaker, okay, I'll just like to very, very quickly give a shout out, which would be none other than our Dr. Nurul. Okay,
Yes.
Dr. Nurul will be sharing on her personal journey towards financial independence and how she's doing it. Okay,
Wow.
so for those of you who love to meet up with Dr. Nurul and to find out her secret, towards her financial independence journey, stay tuned. Okay, we are going to be on the 8th of September. So, with that
Definitely want to tune in
said,
there.
yeah, definitely. So, we're definitely going to see you guys there. So, we
Yes. We'll
will
see you
tune
then.
in with you guys. Okay,
All
so
right.
have a good week ahead and take good care. And before we forget, happy Independence Day to you guys. Happy Merdeka,
Selamat Hari
right?
Merdeka. Yes. All right, guys.
There we
Bye. Take
go.
care.
Signing off. Bye.
Bye.